Coast to coast in the United States, rising carbon dioxide levels in the ocean are threatening sea life. The famed oyster industry in the northwestern United States state of Washington that Libby was just talking about is struggling to survive the corrosive waters along its coast. And in the northeast, shellfish growers in Maine say they are also beginning to feel the impact as well. Karina reports.
In the state of Maine, many people's livelihoods live and die by the sea. Thousands work in the seafood industry. Its annual haul ranks third in value among U.S. states. In 2010, it equaled $375 million. Among all crustaceans, nothing is more identifiable with the state than lobster. It's the inspiration for roadside art, can be seen on its license plates, and can even be found in its Bloody Marys. But Mark Green, a marine biologist, worries that one of Maine's most lucrative and iconic industries could soon dry up. The culprit? Ocean acidification.
What we're seeing here is we're just seeing a slow and steady march towards more and more acidification.
He says acidification in the Gulf of Maine has increased by 30% over the last 6 decades. And the most vulnerable of species are bivalves like clams, oysters, and scallops. The lower pH levels make it harder for them to build their shells.
We are not seeing huge impacts on our business currently, but we see this freight train coming at us. So these oysters are disease-resistant oysters produced.
Bill Mook has been farming oysters for 28 years. His hatchery produces up to 100 million oysters annually. He says he started to notice changes in their development back in 2009.
We see a reduction in the pH of the incoming seawater that we pump into the hatchery, and the effect seems to be a slowdown in larval feeding and growth, and therefore a lengthening of the time it takes us to get the oysters through the larval phase and to the point where they turn into a juvenile oyster. These are the silos that the oysters are held in.
Mook says when the pH levels of the water are lower than usual, it can take up to a week longer for the oysters to grow their shells. That delay can translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses.
We would like to start seeing some efforts made to try to figure out how to manage the problem.
Green says that when it comes to ocean acidification, there are clear winners and losers among species. It appears so far, at least, that lobsters are on the winning side.
We've been going through record-breaking catches every year for the past over a decade.
Matt McCallany is the manager of New Meadows Lobster, a family-run business that exports lobsters around the world.
Lobsters are survivors. They will go where they feel the most comfortable. As with any creature, they will go where the food is.
So are lobsters a type of superhero among ocean dwellers, resistant to ocean acidification? Not necessarily, says Green.
There's work done recently which shows that the larval phase, the small first kind of what we call instars of lobster, are very susceptible to the changing water chemistry.
He says the impact on lobster populations may not be seen now, but could show up in a few generations.
There's only one solution to ocean acidification, and that's it. On a global scale, unless we stop releasing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, acidification will just keep on marching forward.
Left unchecked, he says, the impact on the ocean's marine life would be catastrophic. But Green remains optimistic. He says, we put a man on the moon. We can certainly come up with alternative energy sources to feed our needs without killing off our friends in the sea. Karina, CCTV, Maine.